Hello again, my friends. Welcome back to Carpo's channel. Still voted the best channel on YouTube since 1947. And if you don't believe that, then you can look up the statistics. I hope everybody's doing well today. It's a beautiful day out here in Portland. Hot, but beautiful. And I decided that I would come in and make this video. I've been thinking about this a lot this morning. The fact that we are all addicted to social media, but I wanted to really break that down and explain what I mean. I'm not talking about we're addicted to posting or reading Facebook or getting, comments or responses. That's just the modern version of what we've always had, which is the desire for people to be heard. And everyone wants to have their voice heard. Now, I thought this through for a while first, because I know there's somebody who out there who's thinking, well, no, some people are just quiet and reserved and they have no care whether the world hears them or not. And this is true. There are exceptions to the rule. And there are also people like that who have just been so pushed down by society and have been so ridiculed for their ideas that they're afraid to even express them. So there are people who have been so ridiculed they won't express their ideas. Then there have been people who've been so praised for their ridiculous ideas, or good ideas, that they let it develop into something more than just confidence. It becomes egotism. So what made me think about this, I thought, let's say, for example, a person leaves a comment on a video saying, well, this person just made this video so people would hear what they have to say. It's the exact same thing, posting that comment. By you posting a comment about somebody else wanting to be heard, you're showing the world that you want to be heard as well, or even just an individual. We all want to express ourselves. So whether you're posting a video or a tweet, or you are commenting or responding to comments on those same tweets or videos, it's basically the same thing in my eyes. We are expressing our opinions back and forth. And it's also a form of expression to complain about things, whether we're complaining to our family or complaining to the cashier at the store. It's always annoying to me when somebody's standing there dumping their life problems onto somebody else that does not care. But every time we write to Congress or write to our senators or government, we want to be heard. Every time we honk at even a bad driver just because they cut us off or something, not just for safety reasons, but just to say, hey, that's the kind of thing that as humans, we want to express ourselves to each other and say how we feel, and that's okay. So now that we can move on past that, you just don't want to make it to the point where you feel entitled because you can't think that your opinion is better than others. That said, all opinions are not equal. I hear that argument that, well, it's just somebody's opinion. Maybe, we could just accept and tolerate that everyone thinks differently. That does work in individual cases, but not in a society. So when I say we are all addicted to social media, I'm not just talking about the current version of it. I'm talking about, for example, when I was a kid, we had, let's say, I don't even know, these columns probably still exist. Dear Abby, an advice column in the newspaper, or Ann Landers. So somebody sends in their questions about a relationship, about life, and then they answer this question. And in the process, you wonder, well, a person could ask anyone for advice, but they're asking it on a public forum, right? So they want others to see their problems. Well, this morphed into things like, Morton Downey Jr. I used to watch that when I was like 12, stay up late at night, but I never really watched anything like Jerry Springer. I couldn't stand talk shows. I couldn't stand shows where they would exploit people's weaknesses or problems, and so I was, but it turned into the next social media. People are like, I'm going to take my problems on television and show the world what they are. But it was really just for money, of course, the company. But the fact that people went and did it, it's sad sometimes. But then we have Oprah and Dr. Phil, things like that. Sure, people want help with their issues, but really it's just they want to be heard. And if they have a forum they can express that on, they're going to do that. Which brings us to the internet. Everyone can express themselves, regardless of what they have to say. Every voice, no matter how obscure, has at least a chance. And, for example, those who aren't heard and those who aren't well taken or received or responded to, they become bitter, they become resentful, and they tend to lash out at the world from what I've seen. But the main point here I want to make is everybody wants a voice, and it's important that we listen to each other. Very important. We used to have town meetings or village meetings over issues where people could speak to one another. But our towns got too big. We have a lot of people that all have different interests. And so the modern town meeting is this, what can become a cesspool of hatred, but also can be, a beautiful praise for good things, the internet, where people can come together and decide as a group what's good and bad. And there's a negative side of that, the mob mentality, what we have, with cancel culture and people telling each other what they can and can't say. But also that goes for the other side. It's a mess out there. So people are becoming louder as they become more displaced from their normal way of life. But there's another angle to it. In the past, our little groups could do their thing. They didn't always cross paths, and rarely did they. A Christian group and an Islam group really didn't have any issues with each other, but different things happen in the world, and then the internet magnifies our anger towards groups we may have never met. And I think, God, that's one of the most crucial aspects, is that people hate entire groups of people they've never met. I've heard people, for example, who just hate Jews, and you find out they don't even know any, or people who hate Muslims, and you find out they don't know any. Or people who say they hate liberals, yet their best friend is a liberal, but he's a different guy, right? We're all just people. It's really important to recognize that. And I guess to finalize this, I'd say it's okay that we all want to be heard, and we need to be heard. And that's how we figure out what works and what doesn't. But look at the advice, look at who's saying what, and then look at what we would call today the comment section. The comment section, or the responses, or how these ideas are received by society as a whole, will determine, generally the way that things are going to go. I mean, we as individuals think we know better than everyone else, but that's seldom the case. So that's why we express ourselves, so we can see where we fit in, I guess. But mostly, try to focus on things that are not in the negative, and only we as individuals know what those things are. And so I'm going to go now. Didn't want to make this too long. I'll talk to y'all later, and thanks for listening. I was going to make a video about something more important, like Nancy Pelosi's haircut, because I know how crucial that is to, the future of this country, but I thought I'd just talk about something more mundane instead. Peace out.